If your family sessions just ain't working for you, or you feel like you need a new flow or some new inspiration, I've got a really awesome episode in store for you today. Hello, sunshine, and welcome back to the Gold Biz Podcast with me, your host, Rachel Traxler. I have a really awesome guest today, Maggie Rechkemmer, and she is here to talk all things about her family photography session approach. I love this conversation. This is awesome. And honestly, it's just taking everything and simplifying it down to the marketing, to the onboarding, to the prompting and posing during the session, to how to ensure clients come back to you for future sessions. This is a really awesome episode. I love it. I love hearing other people's approach, how they go about it. And it's just a really fun conversation. So I know that you're going to love it. Pull up your notes app because I know you're going to be leaving with lots of new inspiration for posing and all of those things. But before we dive into it, make sure you leave a review on the Gold Biz podcast so that I can see what you're loving the most about it and then also share the love in return. But without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. Yay, Maggie. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast today. I'm so excited to have you.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Yay. And I think this is going to be a really fun topic to talk about as well because I love doing family sessions and it's not something that I talk about and teach about on the podcast. So I thought, who else better to have on the podcast to talk about this? So I just adore your approach and everything that you do. But for those of them listening that don't know, can you kind of just share with us like your overall approach to family sessions and to like marketing your family sessions?
Yes. So I live in the Midwest. I know you do too, Rachel. And I feel like when I first started doing photography, I did all the things. And when I kind of niched down to family photography, I like jealously would look at like people in the mountains and at the ocean. I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. I'm so jealous. But then like I had this shift in my business where I was like, it's really, I love those locations and I admire all the photographers that get to shoot there all the time. But for me, I'm like, that's really not the basis of what I want my family photography to be about. Like the perfect location and the perfect outfits and this perfect curation, because anyone who has a family, no, that's not real life, right? Like families are wonderfully messy and unique, and everybody has kind of like their own special dynamic in their family. And so, as much as I love and admire like those perfect family portraits, I really shifted at some point where I'm like, that's not what this Midwest gives me, but it's also maybe not the best representation of families all of the time. So, my business really shifted into not necessarily being like the perfect card for perfect picture for Christmas photos or that exact huge enormous 24 by 36 above your mantle. It really shifted into documenting families for whatever phase of life they're in right now and collaborating them into something that's maybe has a little bit more like long time meaning than just the traditional post family portrait. So I feel like that's really started to interweave through my marketing probably like halfway through. I'd probably been doing this for 10 years, and probably about like 3 to 4 years then I was like, I don't want to be doing that other way anymore. And it's really hard when you first start doing that because people are like, what are you doing? Like, and families don't get it. But as you're doing more, they really connect with something that's even more. And do they get like the Christmas card photo? Yes. I'm gonna get a photo of them all looking. I'm still gonna provide that. But I also felt like, okay, well, that takes me like 5 minutes to get your Christmas card photo. What else can we make in our time together that can maybe be evergreen that you're gonna love over the years versus just this year for the card?
Oh my gosh. And you know what? Listening to you, Maggie, too, I have a 1 and a 3-year-old. Yeah, it's and I love doing family photos now that I do have a 1 and 3-year-old. I think that they're so special, but I, I always go into it knowing, hey, whatever we get is what we get. And that's what happens. And I even have clients and families that come to me and they say the same thing. They're like, Rachel, whatever you get is what we get. And it's always beautiful no matter what. And I love that you've kind of noticed that, adapted to yourself and what you like to photograph and what you see happen. Um, but how did you kind of shift that? Because I would imagine that your ideal clientele kind of shifted along with that too, because there are people and families out there that do want those perfect family photos. There are. there are. And
Exactly.
I would also say as myself or as a photographer, I will not probably give you that perfect, like, picture perfect thing. I like the messy. I like the, hey, what we get is what we get. I'm just capturing your season right now, and I also really resonate with that and love that. So how did your clientele shift?
I feel like, in the beginning when I was shifting, I would still get those people. And of course, I still want to make them happy. I still wanted to give them all those post portraits. But as I shifted, I just began sharing more of the messy, more of the imperfect. And I think it's so funny because people are like, oh, I love how you posed them. And I'll be like, well, I didn't. Like, I just prompted them, or we were just playing. So instead of focusing so much of having people exactly a certain way that we all think they should be, it just really turned into, no, that's okay. Whatever they're doing is great. I had a family session, was it last month or the month before? And I wanted the kids to sit next to each other. I'm like, hey, can you guys sit next to each other? And they totally didn't. And the parents are like, get together. I'm like, no, actually, where they stood was super cute. And it's one of my favorite photos. They weren't like perfectly in their spots. They were kind of staggered, but I'm like, that's more real life. Maybe they really just
Mhm.
don't want to sit next to each other.
Yes.
And that's okay. So I think my clients have really become to appreciate it, that I'm not forceful. I'm not like making anybody do anything. It's kind of like, well, if you don't feel like doing that, like, you have a right to not do it. Let's just do something else. It's kind of like, if a kid doesn't like to be on dad's shoulders, even if they've liked it every other time, if they get up there and they're crying and screaming, just get them down. They don't feel like
Mhm.
it today. That's okay.
Mhm.
So really, instead of having this set idea of what your photos should look like, you just need to embrace like where your family is at that day and have fun and enjoy them. And I think families resonate with me because that's what I want to do. I don't want to be stressed during my family photos. I just want to love on my family for an hour and play, and someone take the photos and kind of help us out and then be done. So I think it resonated with what I wanted, just kind of melted into what I provided. And I think families have really like connected with that as I shifted to that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And just connecting it to, I resonate with that too. Connecting it to my own experience, just being a mom and stuff too. Yeah. The second that we try to force anything, or even just like there's just too much, it's overstimulating for them. They just might, for my kiddos, anyways, they just kind of turn off if there's too many voices coming at them telling them what to do. And so that's kind of the since being a mom, that's the approach that I take as well, of just, hey, the less voices coming at them, I think the more natural they can be. And so sometimes, and as a photographer who kind of likes to guide and prompt people as well, I think that has challenged me to take a step back during family photos and be like, okay, I'm going to just kind of let this be, because if I do try to step in and try to prompt, that's actually going to probably make things worse. Just from what I've noticed, I'm like, maybe I will
Yeah.
just kind of like let this guide a little bit. But I do want to get into how you approach a session in a minute, but I want to back up and kind of go back into like the beginning stages. So you talked a little bit how you market it, and you kind of just shifted your marketing into just showcasing more of those imperfect, unposed, messier moments, or just kind of natural moments that way. Now, once you get people that kind of come to you, what does your onboarding process look like with your family sessions? How do you like educate them? How do you prep them for it? What are you communicating with them? What does that onboarding process look like?
Yes, yes. I think this is such a big part of prepping your clients and having your session go smoothly. I mean, if you're a family photographer and you kind of just, they pay you and you show up, you don't have a relationship with them, and you can still do a good job. I'm not saying you can't, but I just think the process is really different. So if someone inquires with me and they've never worked, I mean, repeat clients already know me, they're good. But if they're a new client, I send them like a pricing and session guide so they can kind of get to know what it's going to be like, what it's like working with me, because it's a two-way street. Like if I can't provide what they want and we're not a good fit, that's fine, but I want us both to go into the session with expectations of what it's going to be like and what they're going to get from me, just so everyone's happy after their session and once they get their gallery. So once they're like, yes, I love it, let's do it. Then once they book, I have everything kind of set up. So they get a welcome guide. They talk about how we'll collaborate together with styling. What I think makes a really big difference is a good questionnaire. I know some photographers are like, they never fill it out, but I think there's a bridge between the clients that you're getting that think, Oh, we just want our photos versus clients know that you're investing in them. So I'm asking a lot of questions about their family, what's important to them, activities they like to do, what's special about this phase in life. It's not like incredibly lengthy, but it's enough that they know that I'm invested more in just this transaction of a service, but I really want to get to know them because their photos will turn out better and I just want to spend time with their family and get to know them. So them knowing that I want to know about them already crosses a level of just like a transaction as a service provider and becoming their friend, and in an authentic way, not like I'm just like learning about them to take perfect photos. I'm learning about them because I genuinely want to know and be able to get to know them to make them something really special. And then after I read through all of that, usually we start some back to forth emails on stuff that we want to work on. So if there's a specific location, maybe they love this ice cream shop and they want to go there. We start the process of, okay, can we shoot there? Do we need permission? What kind of things would an outfit be that would go with that? What time of day is good? So we're really collaborating on what makes most sense for the family. When's nap time? Like, I'm not going to have your kid go at 8 p.m. at night if they're going to be asleep. I mean, maybe the golden hour light is beautiful, but if they're going to be ticked or like sugar highs, tired, we all know how that is, then like it's not going to be good. So it's not ideal for anyone. And so we're really communicating about their family dynamics and putting it all together. And I feel like by the time most of it's usually mom, usually by the time I'm meeting mom, she's like, I feel like I already know you. I'm like, well, yeah, we've been talking for a month, planning and figuring it out. And I mentor, so some photographers are like, well, isn't that like a ton of work? I'm like, not really, because my welcome guide is answering all their questions that are common. Really, we're just figuring out the little details special to their family. And some of my clients want a ton of help, and some of them are like, nope, picking your own outfits. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. If you want me to look over them before the day, I can. But if you don't, that's fine too. So I think it's just kind of molding yourself to whatever that family needs in the onboarding process really like sets the stage for having a really good session. I had a mom tell me her 1-year-old is like, she doesn't like anyone. And I'm like, I appreciate you. Like, she is going to be a tough cookie. And I just like to know, it's nice to know those things. So then I'm like, not like into the session. And I'm like, is she usually like this? They kind of
Yeah.
give me a so I think the onboarding is really like great relationship building before you're even having your session. And it's so much more important than I think photographers realize.
Yes. Okay. This is exactly why I asked you that, because as someone who just like loves client experience, I'm like a client experience guru, and just like getting inside of our clients' minds and figuring out where they're at in the process and where their brains are thinking in terms of the whole experience. That's just, I love that. So that's exactly why I asked that question. And I'm so glad that you said that, Maggie. And I love your answers too, it's so important. It's crucial for everything you do. And not only just like, yeah, having an onboarding process, but exactly what you were saying is being very specific and intentional about what's being asked, what information is being provided, how to kind of like best mold their session into them. So I love that end and like that aspect of it. I love that answer. So amazing. And then I have another question too, just like how do you then prep for the sessions on more of a logistical standpoint to make sure that it is a successful and smooth session? Like you were saying, nap time, or maybe do you suggest that they get there early to get comfortable, or that they take a few hours off of work if they need to get there early? Like, is there anything logistically that you do to ensure a smooth and successful session? I'm interrupting my own episode to give you a quick glimpse into my signature coaching program created for established photographers wanting to double to quadruple their prices, book their highest package, and bring in inquiries consistently. This is my high level container of go-to photographers who are making huge waves in the industry. And the biggest difference in this program is that we get a full 12 months together for deep dive transformation, weekly coaching call support, 4 coaches in the program to deep dive into specific topics, and a content retreat, all included in one program. And I always say, if you can book one extra wedding from your year in the program together, you're going to see your ROI. And it's just the weekly norm wins for my students. So I'm fully confident that you're going to be able to do that and way, way more. And this is an application, phone call, and acceptance process only type of program. So if you are curious if this is the right next steps for you to just blow up your business this year, you can fill out the application at racheltraxler.com/apply or get the link in the show notes. I'll be in touch shortly after you fill it out so that we can talk through together if this is the right fit for you. I'm very honest with people and I want this to be a great fit for everyone involved. That's just my heart behind the way I do this process. And I also think that's why my students just see so much success in this program. So don't just be an information consumption overload this year. I want you to be an action taker and start implementing change into your business. So again, if this feels aligned to you, fill out the application at racheltraxler.com/apply to apply for my Passion to Profit coaching program.
Yes, for sure. I think it's funny because I have people that, have followed me or whatever, and then they either have seen me teach at a workshop or mentor or whatever, and they watch me and they're like, "You're just so like, you don't really seem like you're doing anything." And I always laugh because I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm gonna give like a relaxed persona for my clients, even though like behind the scenes I'm very organized and I'm pretty type A. I probably don't come off that way during my sessions." So some things that I do is like how we talked about nap times. Another thing I do is I always do a shot list on my reminders on my iPhone. So I have like a template on my phone that has all the things I would maybe typically get during a session. And it's not like this insane list. It literally says like all families standing is one of the things I have for a portrait, right? I usually get a portrait of everyone looking, standing, and sitting. Pretty easy. But it keeps me in line because with little kids and family sessions, it's just chaos. There's not a flow. Praise any family photographer who has like a very good system workflow, because mine is not. It's you get what you get at the time it's presented to you and then you move on to the next. So I make my shot list and it's not the same shot list for everyone. It's very specifically based off their questionnaire. So if they say they love how their 1-year-old waves or gives like huge kisses, that's going on my list. That's something I can prompt and I can make sure that I'm getting because that's what they want to remember in this phase of life. So it's still specific to the family. And then I also put like their names on the top. So, if I forget somebody's name, I can quickly look. I think that's really important to make that connection with the name. And then I also just make sure that all of our expectations are being met. So, say we get to 75% through the session and there's a couple things I haven't got. It's really easy to right in the moment say, "Hey, I have this list for you guys and I haven't got a picture of your two kids together smiling at me. Is that really important to you? Do you want to keep working on getting it?"
Mhm.
Or I got one together of them running and laughing. And a lot of times, I would say 99% of the time, the mom goes, "Oh my gosh, that's totally okay. I trust you. If you think it was good, let's keep going." So I think it's really important to communicate in the moment what you've gotten and not gotten and make sure you're getting what's important to the family. Obviously, you have to be comfortable with your shooting and all this
Mhm.
stuff in that amount of time, but I think that goes such a long way logistically to make sure everyone's expectations are being met and that they're leaving the session feeling like they got everything they wanted. So I think that's it. That's sort of the shot list is kind of my biggest logistical thing I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And even like I love that you have it written down and then that way it's like you kind of remember too because it is
Oh yeah.
chaos and every session looks so different where
So
it's
different.
like they are kind of your and this is my experience, they're kind of your guide.
Oh,
And like
100%.
you are basing everything off of them and the mood and the flow of what's going on and what's happening, which is the
Mhm.
beauty of it. I love that. Can you
Yeah.
walk us through kind of, I love that your shot list. Can you walk us through what it maybe looks like for you to prompt or guide them in certain things? Or
Yeah.
if, like, yeah, you do want to get a whole group, how are you then? Okay, they're all sitting there and looking at you, what to do. Like, how are you telling them that they can be themselves? Like, what does that look
Yes.
like for you?
Yes. I always laugh because I had a photographer a long time ago. She's like, "I just tell them to be natural." And I'm like, "No one knows how to do that."
No, not when there's a camera like in your face. They're like, "What is what?
Be
What's
natural. No.
natural?"
Like, I can't do that. I'm a photographer.
No,
I can't do it
I
on the other
can't do that either.
And so I think it's just really important when you're wanting natural interactions to set them up kind of how you want where they're at in your body positioning as well, right? So I always tell people always be touching each other, have heads and everything really close because as soon as like you have a space between mom and dad's head, if they're kind of in the back, it kind of looks disconnected. So I'm always saying, put your heads together, put your heads together. And after I tell them like 20 times, they just naturally like, okay, I know she's going to tell me. And so I kind of get them set up and then I'll prompt. If everyone's kind of happy in their little seat and they've all looked at me, usually to get everyone to look at me, if it's younger kids, I'm making animal noises. I mean, if fart and butt jokes are allowed, we're doing that. Kids always think that's fun. Oh man, the best tricks, right? And so I'm doing anything ridiculous to get everyone looking at me and trying to get a genuine smile. As soon as that's done, and I know I've gotten one of everyone looking at me, I move on very quickly. I'll stay exactly where I'm at and I'll start prompting. It could be, can you hear mom's heartbeat? Who has the stinkiest feet? Let's tickle little brother. I'm just prompting anything to kind of see what sparks them. If anyone listening is a family photographer, I'm sure you know, you kind of feel the energy when something works, right? And then it's like, ding, you keep that in your mind for the session. And as soon as I'm seeing that like spark and that magic, and you can kind of feel the energy rising where everyone's really happy, what I'm usually doing is working on storytelling at that moment. So a lot of times before I get up and move, I'm saying, you guys keep doing that. I'm going to get up and take some more shots, but you guys don't move. Because it's habit for us to mirror people when they're leading us, right? So if I stand up, you know what they usually all do? They stop, they look at you, and they start moving because they think they're done. So I think it's really important to prompt them before that sort of thing. And then I'll get up and move around and take, a top down to the side, a detail shot. And then as you're getting closer to a family, you can also start to do different prompts like, oh, can you give mom a kiss? Can you do nose kisses? Do you guys want to hold hands? Should we sing a song? Pretty much anything you can think of that, kind of adds a little bit more connection. And I think just as you get to know families more, you kind of see their personalities and what works. And then you just get so much in such a little bit of time. So I think it's really important to like capitalize on that little magic spark when you can.
Yes, and I think that's so many good things. Like a lot of everything you just said. So, so good. So thank you for that. But I do think people don't realize how much if you're doing things efficiently like you just explained, Maggie, like once you kind of get that down, you can get so much in such a little amount of time. And the attention spans, and I know this from experience, the attention spans of, of children are so small. So it's like if you can have that's why I love mini sessions for families. It's like if you can have 20 minutes of their attention, oh my goodness, you can get so much and like a really good mood in that like short amount of time. Like such a good variety if you are being strategic with like getting the far away shots like you said, top down and like close and like just continuing to communicate and prompt them and all that stuff. I love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, I have another one more question too. How do you kind of ensure that you have returning clients and returning families then too? Because my guess is that they have such good experience of like, that was so easy. And look at how awesome these photos are. I want to come back. But what if not? Or what do you do to ensure that people do come back?
I feel like too, when you're the type of family sessions I provide, when they're unique to the family each year, some people are like, well, how do you keep thinking of ideas? I'm like, I really don't. My clients really provide the ideas most of the time. I kind of keep a list of ideas, like if I drive by a location that's cool. And a lot of time it's not a family being like, I want to be this totally different thing. It's me making some suggestions. And they're like, oh, well, we love that. We would love to do that. Like, there's a sailboat area downtown and I've had it on my list for 5 years and a family's like, "Oh, my kids would love to watch the sailboats." I'm like, "Perfect. We'll shoot there." So I think it's kind of bringing that stuff together. They know I'm going to try to bring a fresh idea to them. They know that I'm going to love on their kids and play with their kids. And it goes back to building a relationship with them where they're excited to see me and that it's just laid back and fun and it doesn't feel like we're taking family photos. I also feel like the highest compliments, and I do get pretty often, is that, "Oh, my husband said he had the best time at our
Yes.
photo."
Yes.
I'm
I
like, "Yeah,
love
because the dad
the
compliment,
guys. Nothing better.
nothing better." And, like, I know people kinda rat on dads, but I personally, and I don't know if it's just because it's me or how I do things, but I have awesome dads who as soon as I say, "Hey, just hang out, love on your family, we're gonna listen to some music, and I'll tell you what to do." And then if everyone needs a break, we take a break. Like, I am so chill that they're like, "Oh, that really is not bad." I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. We have fun." So, that is, like, my highest compliment, and I feel like return clients come back because it is relaxed. Like, we'll stop and chat for 10 minutes while the kid has a snack, and that's no big deal. I'm never in a rush. I'm never scheduling sessions back to back. I'm super flexible for my clients. Like, if your kid is sick, if one of you is sick or like has like a huge scratch on your face, yeah, we can reschedule. It's not that big a
Mhm.
deal. Clients are like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "It's okay." Like,
Yes.
I want you to have awesome photos too and everyone to have a good experience. So I think that being kind and providing something unique to them each year while still, like, caring about who they are as people, like, goes, like, the longest way always.
Oh my goodness, you and I are so similar, and I love this. I love it. And honestly, that is like what makes people want to come back, and it's just kind of who you are, and just adjusting to them too, and letting them know that this is for you, and I want this to be a good experience for you. And yeah, like 9 out of 10 times they're going to say that was awesome. We want to come back to you. And especially because you are basing the session around them. It's not just the same old thing all the time. Like it's different seasons of life are going to create different prompts, and it's going to create different emotion and different photos and different vibes and feels. And so I think that's kind of like you were saying, truly capturing each season looks different. So your session is going
Oh,
to be
yes.
slightly different too. I think that's
Totally,
so
yeah.
awesome. I love that, Maggie. You just dropped so many good things, and I love it. I know people are going to walk away being like, with so many notes from this one. So I love
Yay,
that.
thank you.
Um, I love to ask too at the end of all of my interviews of what's just currently bringing you joy right now.
Well, I really love Halloween. I don't know when this will air, Rachel, but I've been eyeing the 12-foot skeleton for, like, 2 years from Home Depot. And it came back in stock, and there was, like, a week and a half ago to my husband, I'm like, "Oh, we don't need it, like, that's so dumb, we don't need to get the skeleton." And I don't know if he was just being really nice because he is really nice, or was like, "Oh my gosh, she's never gonna shut up about this skeleton," and he did buy it, so it's sitting in our garage. So,
Go,
all things
husband.
fall and Halloween is bringing me joy, and I will my kids get so excited to help decorate, so we'll have fun. I'm not, like, a spooky person, but I do love, like, costumes and fall, so
Yeah, dressing, just having fun with it. Well, go him, bust it out. I say do it. Like it's September, it's time. Do it. Bust it out. I want to see it.
the kids already have gotten out the arms and, like, played with them. It's super cute.
That is hilarious. I love that for you. Yeah, I say bust it out, decorate. I'm someone I will decorate in August for fall. Like fall's my favorite time of year. I will do it. I don't care. I don't care. It's happening. Whatever brings you joy. It's your home that you live in. Whatever makes you feel comfortable and at home and brings you joy, I say. But I love that. And then also, where can people find you?
I am most active on Instagram. My last name is terribly hard to spell, but at Maggie.Rechkemmer. I post on my stories quite a bit and share a lot of my work there. And then I also, on my website, have different like education offerings if anyone is interested, and then just like different blogging and stuff like that. So that's MaggieRechkemmer.com.
Amazing. I'll make sure to link it too so that people don't get lost in not knowing how to spell it. So I'll make sure to link it. Yeah. And so that way everyone can get connected with you. But thank you so much, Maggie. This was so fun and you were so awesome.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun to finally connect and meet you. I really appreciate it.
All right, there you have it. I really hope that this episode was helpful for you. I loved having this conversation. I thought it was super helpful. And if you loved it as much as I do, make sure you screenshot it and share it to your stories and tag me at Rachel Traxler so that I can see which episodes you're loving the most and then also share the love in return. But thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I appreciate you so, so much. And as always, keep shining and we'll see you next time.